Republicans here in the United States are enjoying their first days in control of both sides of Congress. Today, members from both the House and the Senate are meeting in Hershey, Pennsylvania to talk about their priorities for 2015 and to resolve some of the differences between the lawmakers within each House and between the Houses. Our Chief Washington correspondent, pardon me, they still got scarlet on the brain there, Peter. Peter Cook talked to one of the GOP's key deal makers. That's the senator from Tennessee, Bob Corker. He's the new chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. Peter, what is it that you talked to Senator Corker about?
Well, listen, I sat down with Senator Corker just a short time ago to get a feel for what's happening behind the scenes here as, again, Republican senators, Republican House members meet, talk, compare notes. They're on the Hill all the time, Eric, but they don't always get to really sit down and make sure they're on the same page. Bob Corker told me a moment ago that's the beginning of what this retreat's all about.
Yeah, it's helpful to synchronize. I mean, I'm, for instance, stepping upstairs with my House counterpart on foreign relations. It gives everybody a good idea of what the agenda of each side is. But it's, first of all, I mean, candidly, just being here with House members, people don't realize when I go back home to Tennessee, they don't realize we just don't have that much interaction with House members. And certainly...
you guys need to bridge differences with them, much less
Well, we don't have differences. We have a lot of, similarities that we need to synchronize. So anyway, it's been a good session. I'm glad to be here, and I think it's been very helpful, again, for people to understand how each body plans to move things along.
What is it you think, as you talk to your colleagues, what's realistic to achieve in terms of priorities this year, legislative priorities? Because we've already had a reality check from the president, 5 veto threats already. You can only get so much done.
Well, I don't think the legislative branch ever, follows the agenda necessarily of what the CEO may be laying out. I mean, I think we're going to follow our own course, and certainly we're going to deal with things like energy. We have to deal with a budget. We had our pre-meetings. We certainly will deal with the Iran issue very fully.
We're going to see a sanctions bill?
Well, y'all keep referring to sanctions. You're going to see a bill on Iran of some type that ensures that we end up getting the type of deal that will stand the test of time. And I think it's only right that Congress has the ability to weigh in. I mean, Congress got us to the table. Certainly the administration was involved in that heavily too, but Congress played a major role, and we need to play a major role in ensuring that whatever final agreement is negotiated is one that will stand the test of time. So you'll see energy, you'll see a lot of foreign relations issues. The president has given the nod to and plans to work with us soon on an AUMF, an authorization for the use of military force. We hope that's actuality and it's going to occur. There'll be numbers of banking issues that we'll be dealing with. So it's going to be a robust, the first 6 to 9 months will be obviously the most robust period of time.
Let me ask you about 2 particular issues.
Okay.
First of all, immigration and this current fight over the Department of Homeland Security funding. Republicans over in the House, as you know, have sent a bill over to the Senate that would roll back the president's executive actions. But there are questions about how this moves forward. It's already got a veto threat. Is it a mistake to put Department of Homeland Security funding on the line in this debate?
One of the things that Americans haven't been able to see because it hasn't happened in so long, I think the last conference we had was on Dodd-Frank, which was in 2010. But what happens is the House passes legislation, the Senate passes legislation, and then there's a conference where you work out the differences. And I think you're going to see a lot of that happen. Look, the House has had its say. I know that Ron Johnson, head of our Homeland Security area, who does an outstanding job, in my opinion, will have his say, and we'll figure out a way to merge the two so that we deal with this.
At the end of the day, you're going to have to pass a clean DHS funding bill, aren't you?
I would not think that would be the case. I think everyone is cognizant of the fact that obviously Americans' security is one of our most important functions, and Homeland Security certainly is central to that, and we all want to maintain that. At the same time, my sense is the Senate will speak very strongly to some of the issues that you're alluding to.
Let me ask you about one other topic, and I'll let you go, and that is, you mentioned Dodd-Frank. We've talked with you a lot over the last couple of years about regulatory issues in the financial sector. What is it you think, as a member of the Banking Committee, should be done in terms of tweaks to Dodd-Frank and the efforts to go sweeping changes? Do you think that's even remotely possible?
Well, I think, I think almost everyone would agree that our community banks, of across the nation have been under a lot of stress over some of the changes because everything kind of flows downhill. So those are some of the issues we can look at. The biggest issue, though, Peter, to me, is, you know, when Dodd-Frank was being passed, every single Republican senator, I believe, went to the floor and complained about the fact that it didn't include changes to Fannie and Freddie, winding them down, keeping them off as a taxpayer liability. It is the biggest issue that we need to deal with. And from my standpoint, it would be total malpractice for us not to figure out a way to get this tremendous taxpayer liability dealt with and have the private sector playing the kind of role that it should be playing right now in housing finance. So I'm going to speak about something that was left out of Dodd-Frank that we need to certainly make sure is dealt with.
Should Janet Yellen expect changes in terms of oversight of the Federal Reserve?
I think that what you're going to see oversight-wise there is there's not a lot of oversight into how the Fed is carrying out its regulations. So I think you're going to see a lot of meetings in that regard, trying to understand how Trullo and others are going about their business, the effects that it's having downstream. So that's, you know, one of the most important roles we play, and yet haven't played it much, is oversight. And I think that's something that's going to be very, very robust over this next couple of years.
Senator Bob Corker is going to be a key player on regulatory issues on the Banking Committee, and even bigger player as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. Here at this Republican retreat, Eric and Stephanie, you can hear in his voice that they have a lot on their plate, a lot they want to get done, a lot of differences, subtle differences they still need to work out with their fellow Republicans on the House side. A lot to do here. An open mic on immigration should be one of the highlights this afternoon.
All right, Peter, thank you so much for joining us. Our own Peter Cook with Senator Bob Corker. When we return,